Hello, I'm Carole Sawo. The vampire archetype is a really fascinating one. I'm bringing it into the light here, as I did in a previous video with its bed partner, the Wicked Witch, because they don't only exist in films and fairy tales and fantasy and mythology. They actually exist here in our world, and their operation is invisible. They've got the same aim, which is an energetic one. So the original film from the book Dracula, if you're reading that correctly, you'll notice that Dracula didn't suck blood, he sucked red phenomena, which is at the base frequency, the base chakra. And his aim was to siphon off the energy system and to also come in at the throat chakra. Those of you that are studying spiritual frequencies, that's the colour blue. And the aim there is to silence your voice, and it's an attack on innocence. It's a double whammy, so that's the double fork in the teeth and the tongue. I have a lot to get through here. I'm going to tell you about the vampire archetype, why you need to be aware of it, as you will have met one and you possibly will meet another one. How to recognise them. They seem to wear the same type of uniform, which is quite uncanny. And then what to do about them, and where they come from, and how can we bring our knowledge of alchemy into this concept of vampire attacks. Now, I'm noticing as I'm recording the video that there are some orbs floating about, but when I tell you the material that I'm going to speak about, you'll understand why. So, the vampire archetype. It forms part of the major arcana in tarot. That means that it holds a critical and crucial role in our internal world and our external world. And mostly it moves about in the dark. Now, in the dark doesn't just mean at night, it means invisibly. And we are in revelation. And so what's coming into the light now is knowledge about what has been happening in our subconscious world, because that is where we need to go back and do the repair work and also the alchemy. So the vampire archetype, it's been in the subconscious, the personal subconscious and the collective subconscious for years. And it has a specific aim. It cannot stay alive unless you feed it. And you might consciously feed it by getting into arguments and chaos and altercations. But you might unconsciously be feeding it because it has got a grip on your heart. Now, I have a very long list here of its activities. So if you don't mind, I'm going to look down at my list because there are some things on here that are really important. First of all, it wants to take your life energy, because that is the only way it can exist. If we don't give it our energy, then it disappears. So we have much more power over this particular archetype's activities than we might think. For anybody that studies the Matrix, I'm talking about here Mr. Smith, who morphs into other people. So what we have here is the vampire archetype is a very active agent in the Matrix. And what that means is that it's trying to prevent your ascension, your spiritual and personal development. So every time you go up a rung and understand something, it will counteract you and go up the rung too. So it starts off quite blatantly at the sex level of sexual addiction and pornography. And that is where a lot of, especially men, fail. Because you are so seducible, bless you, at that base chakra level. What you don't know is there's chakras underneath the base, and one of them is black, and I talk about that in my writing and other videos. So what's happening at this base chakra in our sexual attraction? So that's one of its primary forces is seduction and attraction. So you'll find that you might get somebody online, somebody new comes in and suddenly showers you with attention, affection and attraction. And they're very good, let me tell you. They're very, very good. I'll give you that. You're very good. But what we have here is an energy, a vampiric energy attack, that when they've left, at the very minimal level, you're going to be feeling flat. What you don't want is for that to have left parts of itself in your aura. So that has this double whammy. It will take your energy and give you back its emptiness. So when you have a broken heart, if you've been in love with somebody and they suddenly leave, your sudden drop in energy is still feeding it after it's gone. So this is where we need to raise our self-esteem, because your self-esteem is your energy system. It will also give you false hope, so it will get into your fantasy and imagination. I mean, what it normally says to me is, I want to be in your mind every day, Carole. That's hilarious to me, because I think, some of them are very smart, but some of them really aren't. And, if you want to be in my mind every day, then you're not going to be. That's for sure. And what they really want is, if you've got a really great energy, if you're doing lots of meditation and yoga, then you are prime target, because what a lovely energy system you've been working on. Let's go in and suck off of that person for a little while. They work on things, everything being temporary too, because love has permanency, and the opposite to that has no permanency. It's temporary. It can't exist without you. So here are some of its behaviours. It will distract you. It wants to distract you from your work. It wants to distract you from your life. It wants to distract you from your marriage. It wants to distract you from doing the right thing. It wants to distract you from speaking up. It will throw everything at you, and guess what? It brings in its friends sometimes. And it will gang because you're about to do something like I'm doing here, which is put a full light on a very dark aspect to the mind of man. It's a very good reason why I'm doing it, so hang in there. It will give you false hope, and it will fulfill your fantasies. Now, worryingly, it also knows what you want. So if you're secretly, meditating, praying, or speaking out loud the things that you want, it is in the ether, and so it is listening. So you might want to make your prayers silent, just between you and your source, your creator, or the universe. What else it does, it pretends to be a friend or a lover, and this is where really a huge vampiric attack is. It will come in at these sexual attractive level. It will go then into your life force. It will go then into your heart. Can you see we're coming up the frequencies of chakras? It will then go into the throat chakra. Now, I just tell you this piece of little gem of knowledge, which I always smile at. The bite mark is the sign of impotence. And so classically, it will go through your throat chakra, because in childhood, when we are innocent, there has been things that probably have happened, and it's sitting there paralysing your voice so that you don't speak up. I'm giving you full permission to speak up, in fact sing. Oh, it likes to dance too. And then it comes in with lots of red roses. It really is, like bless and love, hilarious. It is actually holding a very crucial part to our whole existence, because it is the counterbalance, it's the counteractor. It certainly knows how to act as well. And so, you have to be aware of the fakery on the way in. Then you won't be so devastated when it leaves you, because it will leave you. Base chakra also, not just sex, money, addiction. Gosh, there's so many ways to seduce a human. Watch my other video on the vampire. And so it wants to get into and possess your mind. Now, your mind is your soul, so at all costs you've got to put up boundaries and not let people into your mind, and be very aware of what's coming into your mind. Once a vampire is in your mind, you really need a whole lot of sage and a whole lot of prayer and intuitive guidance. And you can do things like imagination, putting lights around yourself of protection and this kind of thing. Now, here is the real truth about where vampires come from. And this is going to be difficult for people to digest. So yes, I am still in the throat and the stomach chakra. It's going to be difficult to digest because they've come from us. They have come from the shadow aspect of us and the parts of ourselves that we do not want to own and love. So they get projected out into our world, and that is where we have a lot of this, especially at the moment, incredible strong energy dynamics. It's an attack on the soul, on your soul and the soul of man. So that's what's going on here. That's why I've made the video now. And how you counteract that is you have to alchemize that aspect of yourself. So you have to first of all own it, and that can be a bit scary, but you have to accept that all things that appear have actually come up. Please listen to these words. They've come up for recognition and to be healed. And there we can now employ our compassion, not undue compassion so that we get sucked back into that, but just our sort of distant compassion, where we say, right, well, what we're looking at is a human who's been abused in childhood, but we're also looking at an entity that cannot exist without us. And so if we take ownership of that, we can alchemize that particular aspect of ourselves. Just to leave the video on a couple of Carolisms, as my students call them. The lower level vampires turn up wearing red and black. And if they aren't able to seduce you sooner or later, the number one vampire, Dracula, or demon, or whatever you like to call that, it will turn up most likely wearing blue and black. So pay attention to what's appearing in your world. But I want to leave you with the empowerment that if you understand what I'm saying and they've come out of our subconscious mind, then we also, as well as having the power that we created them, we have the power to remove them. And that is the real fear of a vampire. And so good luck with all of that. I'm recently reminded that the word apocalypse doesn't mean ending of the world, it means to reveal. And welcome to this part of our collective journey. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now.